Hello, District 1. This is Vanessa Hall Harper, District 1 City Councilor, and I wanted to take a few minutes out to give you an update about the Greater Tulsa Area African American Affairs Commission. I hope that everyone is as excited as I am about the creation of the commission, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to kind of give you an update on what has transpired and share with you some of the words that I shared with the commissioners on last week's initial meeting. I first want to take a few moments and acknowledge a couple of people who helped lead the effort, which began well over 2 years ago, really almost close to 3 years, in the creation of the commission. And those individuals are Margaret Love, Representative Regina Goodwin, Mike Reed, Christy Williams, the man we simply know as Chief, Joyce Williams, School Board Representative Janetti Marshall, Berlinda Ratney, Darlene Hall, Odester Hall, Sherry Lasky, Tracy Chandler, and really a host of others. And we certainly appreciate their assistance and so many others. We really labored and struggled from the beginning to create this commission. And I just would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge them and the community who supported that effort here today. I am humbly reminded of a Frederick Douglass quote, which says, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing of the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without demand. It never did, and it never will." Please remember that as we struggle ahead. I also want to express my sincere appreciation to Mayor G.T. Bynum and his staff for their assistance and efforts in bringing the Greater Tulsa Area African American Affairs Commission to fruition. And just to share with you some of the words that I shared with the commissioners on last week, and I encouraged the new commissioners with a call to action. And I also want to share this call to action with the community, the people, because this is something that we are in together. Yes, they are commissioners, but we, the community, you, the community, have to hold them accountable, just as you hold myself accountable as an elected official, because they serve in a leadership capacity. And so that's important. So I just want to share with you some of the words that I shared with them. The Greater Tulsa Area African American Affairs Commission is a commission that will focus on issues that are negatively affecting African Americans throughout the Greater Tulsa area. Is anyone familiar with a book? And I want to take a few seconds here, just bear with me, and show you the cover of a book that's entitled The Covenant with Black America 10 Years Later. This is a book by Tavis Smiley, and it is an awesome read. So I encouraged them, and I also encouraged the community to get this book and certainly familiarize yourself with it. But what I really like about this book is that it spells out 10 covenants that are critical to the African American existence in America. And I want to read to you what those 10 covenants are. And I believe that it is very apropos to the issues that we face, not only here in Tulsa, but throughout the country. Number one, or the first covenant, is securing the right to health care and well-being. The second covenant is establishing a system of public education in which all our children achieve at high levels and reach their full potential. Covenant number 3 is correcting the system of unequal justice. Covenant 4 is fostering accountable, community-centered policing. Covenant 5 is ensuring broad access to affordable neighborhoods that connect to opportunities. Covenant 6 is claiming our democracy. Covenant 7 is strengthening our rural roots. Covenant 8, accessing good jobs, wealth, and economic prosperity. Covenant 9, assuring environmental justice for all. And Covenant 10, closing the racial digital divide. And so I think, and I certainly propose that those are very good starts for some of the things that we can accomplish throughout this commission. I believe and hope this commission can and will serve as the nucleus to address these issues and more by doing two things basically: seeking and implementing solutions to these covenants, and secondly, working in an advisory capacity to the mayor as we create policies and programs that will benefit and improve the quality of life for the African American in Tulsa. The commission must be progressive and unapologetic in this struggle, and so does the community. We must both be progressive and unapologetic in the struggle. We can't tackle our issues without being progressive. It is important for me to say that if anyone has a fear of publicly advocating unapologetically for African Americans, then this may not be the commission to serve on. If you are worried about what your place of employment may say or do because you are advocating for African Americans, this may not be the commission in which to serve. I'm going to be honest, the African American Affairs Commission would not be in existence today if it wasn't for the people who bravely protested for over 2 years in the cold, in the rain, in the heat of the summer. And please understand this, if we had to fight that much to get it, we will have to fight as much, if not more, to keep it and to be successful. Some of you may or may not be aware, but Title V commissions, that is, the commissions whose mission it is to focus on or to prioritize the success of a specific group or population, is not new to the city of Tulsa's governmental infrastructure. For example, the Hispanic Affairs Commission was created in 1979, some 40 years ago. The Indian Affairs Commission was created in 1991, some 27 years ago. The Status of Women Commission was created in 1985, some 33 years ago. And these commissions rightfully focus on issues that affect the people they represent. And they have made great strides and progress within their respective communities, and they do it unapologetically. It will be important for you to understand that we are not minorities. Minorities include all other races other than Caucasians that are grouped together. And we cannot accurately report data and address our issues if we are lumped into one group known as minorities. Therefore, we need to focus on issues, conditions, and disparities that affect us. That is why this commission is called the African American Affairs Commission. This commission will promote unity and purpose among African Americans in Tulsa so we can be organized. When we are organized, we can effectively and proactively address problems rather than always reacting to them. Reactionary positions has its place and can be effective for short-term goals, but where there is organization of a people, there is longevity and power. Just to give you one example of a successful initiative organized and implemented by the Hispanic Affairs Commission, the Hispanic community identified the language barrier issue in the Spanish-speaking community with the police department. And so what they were successful in doing is engaging the city of Tulsa to identify this issue. Through the Hispanic Affairs Commission's efforts, they recruited and were successful at hiring Spanish-speaking police officers. They moved them here because they recruited in other states. They recruited in Texas and New Mexico. And so they moved these Spanish-speaking officers here. They went through the academy, and then they were assigned to patrol those areas with high populations of Spanish-speaking people. And so that was one of the ways they were able to work within the city's infrastructure and achieve success or a goal to improve the quality of life. Because they were could have that language barrier, some people didn't call the police when they needed to. And so that was one of the ways in which they affected change in their community. So when we as a community, as an African American community, raise the same issues that we want officers in our communities that look like us, that appreciate our culture and that understand and know our culture, and that this will build trust in a community, then we know that telling us, well, that's not possible, we can't tell someone that they're going to work in a particular part of town, we know that that's not true because it worked within the Hispanic community to specifically address that issue. We can and must do better, and we will. Just imagine how this commission can positively impact these covenants and more. This African American Commission must call upon all parents, educators, preachers, social service providers, community leaders, and policymakers to act now to create a brighter future for our children. The words of writer and environmental activist Terry Tempest Williams make clear the urgency of this commission. The eyes of the future are looking back at us, and they are praying for us to see beyond our own time. I will conclude with two quotes. The first are the words from my shero, Shirley Chisholm, who you've probably heard me say 100 times, and I will continue to, because it is so true to our efforts and our cause. You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. And the fight for this commission was the implementation of an idea. And so we can be successful. And secondly are the words from Dr. Cornel West about leadership and success. And I'm sure you see my picture signed of Dr. West right here in the background. Again, I really love this quote because, again, it focuses on leadership and success. And just because you don't sit on this commission does not mean you're not a leader and does not mean that you can't be successful. Everyone in this community can be a leader and can be successful. His quote is simply this: if your success is defined as being well adjusted to injustice and well adapted to indifference, then we don't want successful leaders.